Hi everyone, welcome to this session in Football in Society. And today we're going to be looking at providing sport and physical activity for disabled people. Your recommended reading for this session will be the Sport England Active People Survey. Obviously we've explored this in great depth previously in this module, so try and dig back into the grey matter and remember some of the content that we covered there. We'll be looking at EFDS, the English Federation for Disability Sport, and your academic text for this session will be Houlihan, Sport and Society, Student Introduction, and the Handbook of Sports Development by Houlihan and Green. Okay, some context now for disabled people in sport across the UK. There are almost 11 million disabled people in the UK, with only 17% of disabled people were born with their impairments. People are more likely to become disabled if they have a low income or out of work or have low educational qualifications. You may want to consider why that is. The majority of impairments are not visible. Less than 8% of disabled people use wheelchairs. Now, think of how supermarkets display disabled people car parking spaces. Well, it's the yellow sign with the wheelchair, isn't it? Well, actually, that's a minority cross section of all disabled people. So, makes you wonder why they put that wheelchair on that sign. The average gross hourly pay for disabled employees is £11.08 compared to £12.30 for non-disabled employees. 23% of disabled people have no qualifications compared to 9% of non-disabled people. I'm going to be using a lot of statistics throughout this session, so try not to get too sidetracked and try and think about some of the trends rather than the statistics itself. Think about the trends within those statistics. So using this first slide as an example, we're saying that disabled people are paid less. We're challenging your stereotype of saying that impairments are visible, so you can't see that everyone's got a disability, and that disabled people have less qualifications than non-disabled people. So try not to get bogged down with the actual statistics because there's going to be a lot of those. Just think more about the trends. Disability models to explore. Well, one is the medical model, so personal tragedy theory. This outlines that disability is an impairment owned by an individual and resulting in a loss or function of a limitation. So it could be that could be physical or it could be mental. Implies the need for professionals to impose what they think is right. So it's a matter of being able to, I've lost the function of whether it be my brain or a part of my brain or a part of my body, then I've got to go to the doctors and they're going to fix me and make me better. So there is no recognition of cultural or personal factors. However, the socially constructed model is responsible for disability lies with society rather than the individual. So society disables people by limiting their worth. So it's society looking at you as an individual or looking at me as an individual as an example and saying, oh well, he's not normal and therefore he's not much worth. He can't operate at the same level as a non-disabled person. Disability is created by non-disabled values, norms and beliefs. Out of this model, the Disability Discrimination Act was passed in 1996. It is most notable for imposing a duty on employers and service providers to make reasonable adjustments for disabled people to help them to overcome barriers that they may face in gaining and remaining in employment and in accessing and using goods and services. The main activities covered by the Disability Discrimination Act are employment, including access to employment, access to and use of goods, facilities and services, including access to public buildings, shops and leisure facilities, and to healthcare, housing and transport. Certain other functions carried out by public bodies such as policing and issuing licenses. Membership of private clubs and use of their facilities are also highlighted. It's important to highlight at this stage that impairment and ill health are two different things. So disability should be distinguished between the two. Disability is defined as disadvantage experienced by an individual resulting from barriers to independent living, educational, employment, or other opportunities that impact on people with impairments or ill health. Impairments can be seen as long-term characteristics of an individual that affect their functioning and or appearance. Ill health is the short-term or long-term consequence of disease or sickness. So again, if you're choosing disabled people in sport or in football as the area for your essays, and that is going to be your target group, a nice definition within your introduction might be really useful there. Many people who have an impairment or ill health would not consider themselves to be disabled. So and what's really important, and it's a bit of a minefield, is terminology when working within the area of disability in sport. And we're going to look at a few now. So task for you, how many of the following terms do you find inappropriate? Okay, so you might want to list them in table format. So if you're in a group, list them in table format, appropriate or inappropriate. Or if you're on your own, just draw up a table within your work pad. Okay, good luck.